Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lord of the Rings. This is the 2000 board game by Dr. Reiner Knizia, published back then by Hasbro and I think Wizards of the Coast. We are playing this as the fourth game in my try and do for a board game a week quest for 2021 here. So, yay, this will get our first month out of the way and we'll be still remaining right on target. Lord of the Rings, I got this. You'll notice, as I said, this is the Hasbro version. And it was the one that I got back in 2000. It was the first of the modern board games, modern tabletop games I ever got. Other people, their first one was like Catan and that sort of thing. Nope, mine was the Lord of the Rings because I was such a Lord of the Rings nut. As you see, it's by, as I said, Reiner Knizia designed the game. Dr. Reiner Knizia, a doctorate in mathematics, and one of the most prolific board game designers or card game designers and all out there. He's got over 600 game designs to his credit. Incredible number. A lot of them abstract, and this game is fairly abstract, but it is also very thematic as for all that. We're playing the two-hand solo variant, so I'll be taking Frodo and Sam. You can play this with 4 characters. I mean, we could have all 4 or 5 hobbits out here. You can play up to 5. You play Frodo, Sam, Merry, Pippin, and if you got a 5th player, you get to put Fatty Bolger on the map. As someone said, I can't remember who it was, what playthrough I was watching of it, but they said, you know, the 5th Beatle, Fatty Bolger, gets to take his rightful place in the Fellowship here. And so they will be moving along down the track as well. This was one of the very first cooperative games. It wasn't the first, but it was one of the very first that popularized and taught people that games didn't just have to be people playing against each other and competing, that you could actually play together and compete against the game itself. In fact, I have played this a number of times. I haven't played it in a long time. It's probably been over 10, 12 years since I played this game. So I actually played a practice game last night to make sure. So we have hit our game a week already, but I thought I would go ahead, since we are such Lord of the Rings nuts on this channel, we thought we'd go ahead and play it and record it, as you see here. I actually played this way back in the day with Dwindon and Keebs. And we actually, all the 3 of us, played a game of this sometime around 2000 or 2001. Back in the days before any of us were married or any of that. And they would come to my house or come to my apartment once a week, and we would play board games and Dungeons and Dragons. So they have played this too, but like I said, just the once. We're playing just the base game here. You'll see up there on the shelf, right there in the middle of the screen, you'll see I have all 3 expansions for it: Friends and Foes, Sauron, and Battlefields. But today we are just going to play the base game, just the core game. All the others, in fact, the only one up there that they consider people will tell you is essential is the Friends and Foes. They say if you can get your hands on that, it adds more locations. You'll see there's 2 locations, Bree, which is a sticker on there, and Isengard, which is a sticker on there. Those are from the Friends and Foes expansion. But those expansions are very hard to find. They have been out of print for 15 plus years, maybe. And you can find them on eBay, but they tend to be rather expensive anywhere in the secondary market. So we're going to get started here, as I said. And another thing you'll notice, all the markers in the game look like the cones of, what was it, Cones of Dunshire? Was that the Parks and Recreational spoof about European games? Something like that. As you see, up here we have the main board. This is the main Lord of the Rings board. We have all these locations, which are represented by circles. We have, in the base game, Bag End, and then Rivendell, and then Moria, Lothlorien, Helm's Deep, and then finally Shalab's Lair and Mordor. We are trying to move our white progress token all the way across Middle-earth from Bag End to Mordor. The underneath that is the darkness track. That's this one right here. That shows purity and innocence over this side, starting in Bag End, where the hobbits start, all the way to darkness and evil over here in the land of Mordor. Sauron can start, this is the Sauron Marker. Isn't that just wonderful? And heavy, too. I mean, it's a nice, thick, heavy piece of resin or whatever it is. He's got 3 locations. If you're playing expert mode, you start him on 10. If you're playing beginner mode, which is what I played last night, you start him on 15. And the standard game, he starts on 12. Now, things go on in the thing. As his power increases in the game, he moves further up the track this way. As the hobbits get corrupted, they move further up the track this way. And if Sauron and the Ring Bearer are ever in the same space together, Sauron wins and we lose. The other way to lose the game will be if we ever get down, there's various boards. There's a board here for Moria. There's a board for Helm's Deep, there's a board for Shalab's Lair, and a board for Mordor. And if we ever, these are events down the side, if we ever get to the last event down here in Mordor, when we're on the Mordor board, Sauron wins that game as well. Okay, and I think there's one more. There's like, maybe if the Ring Bearer has to get rid of cards and doesn't have any, I think he either gets eliminated or he loses. I have to take a look at that one. All right, so I've got the board, I think, pretty well set up. We've got shields over here, which are kind of the currency of the game. You earn shields as you go through the various scenario boards here, and you can trade them in for cards over here, the Gandalf cards. You can also use them to pay off some of the events and other cards. You'll see things like, the event will be you have to lose 2 shields, you have to pay 2 shields, or else the event happens, that sort of thing. Frodo is the ring bearer, so he starts off with the ring. What can I tell you? Gandalf cards over here. There are 5 Gandalf cards. There are 3 more that are added in the Friends and Foes expansion, and these are very powerful effects that you can buy and use one time in the game. Like this one right here, each one costs 5 shields. And this one is Gandalf Magic. After moving the event marker, you can ignore the event. This one is healing. You heal one player 2 times, which means when you're healing them, you move them back this way on the track, back toward the light. All right, then as we go into various places, there are other item cards that we will get here as we go from place to place, and we'll pull those out as we come to them. Okay, the other thing is the die. A lot of things are resolved by die roll. The die here only has one good result, which is the blank space. Otherwise, you've got these 3 results, which are a 1, a 3, and a 2. That shows how many levels of corruption that you have to take. This one right here means you have to lose 2 cards. And this one right here means that Sauron moves a step closer down the track. So the die is something you don't want to do too often. Sam, on the other hand, if you do have to roll the die, use Sam if you can. Because as you see, his special ability is after each die roll, he only takes no more than 1 damage. So he can never take the 2 corruption and the 3 corruption. He can only ever take the 1. Frodo's special ability is that he can use any white hobbit cards as wild cards. The little star symbol there shows wild cards. As we play the hobbit cards, you'll see they have different emblems on them. There's feet for travel. There's a tree for hiding. And there is a tree for hiding. There is a axe and a sword for combat. And the stars for wild cards. I think that's how the basically suits on the cards go. We also have the event deck here, which we will use as we go through the various areas, the scenario boards. So we are going to get started. I'm going to look through the setup, make sure that we have everything ready to go, and then I'll be back and we will get started with the game here. Welcome back. All right, we are ready to start the game here, and the other events in this thing are fellowship, which are shaking hands. That was the other one. So we start off in bag in. The marker is sitting there. As you see, we do the first part of it is the Gandalf Phase. Each player gets 6 Hobbit cards. So we're going to deal those out now. 1, 2, and I'm going to tell you as we go along that in the rules of the game, like I said, this is a cooperative game, but in the rules of the game, it says that you can't show your hands to each other. You have to keep your cards either in your hand or face down on the table. Now, the reason why they do that is specific, but you can tell each other what you have. That's the crazy thing. You can tell each other what you have. You just can't show them to each other. Now, what that is about, it seems, the people that have tried to figure this out over the years, is that y'all know that there's such a thing as alpha gaming. Happens a lot of times in these co-op games where you got one player who's either real knowledgeable about the game or who has that competitive streak, or who just you know, has to be the leader and everything, will tell other people what to do, how to play their turns and stuff. And they're thinking that is why. It's like, you can't, especially with like 4 or 5 players, you can't keep in mind what every player does. It's a whole lot easier to be an alpha gamer if you can look around the map and see what everybody has, and then you can say, okay, you need to do this, you need to play these 2 cards, and you need to just take some, rather than just play your own damn hand. So that's pretty much it. If you don't have any alpha gamer problems, though, then there is no issue with that. All right, Frodo has a wild card. That's the one with the star. He has 2 hiding cards, as you see here with the trees, and then he has 3 fellowship, which is Sam making his rabbit stew. And here you see what we talk about, the white cards and the gray cards. Now, when it's your turn, you can, one of the things you can do is you can play 1 or 2 cards. If you play 2 cards, they have to be a white and a gray. Okay? You can't play 2 white cards. Now, and this is the star ones are the wild cards. It means if, for instance, let's say he just had 1 fellowship and he needed to play 2, then he could have that star stand for a fellowship, or it can stand for a travel, or it can stand for a hide. It can be whatever. But it's still, you still have to obey the white-gray rule. Okay, over here on Sam, let's see what he ended up with. We've got a hiding, another hiding. We have got a travel, 3 travel. Okay, so we got a pretty good combination of cards here and a star. The only thing we didn't end up with any combat whatsoever. And that's going to be kind of tricky because combat is the primary way of moving through the scenarios. But we're not to the scenario yet. Let's go back up here to bag in. Preparations. The ring bearer may now roll the die. Anytime you see that square, it means the die. And reveal 4 Hobbit cards face up for distribution. All right, we'll do that. So that is preparations. So Gandalf has told us we need to go. We have decided and we have started, and then you have preparations. This is why, and this is why you have to roll the die, because once again, this is all thematic. Remember when Frodo decided to leave, he wasn't going to leave for 6 months, even though the Sauron knew where the Shire was, etc. Of course, let's not just blame him. Gandalf, of course, also did not know that the 9 were abroad. As he said, if he knew the 9 had been released from Minas Morgul, he would have immediately grabbed Frodo and left right then and there. But since Frodo is just kind of mucking around for the next 6 months, we get to roll a die, and this is going to show how things are happening outside of the Shire while we're just waiting around. Nothing. Okay, best result. In fact, only good results. So we didn't take any damage, didn't lose any cards, and Sauron doesn't move any closer. So we got real good there. So now he gets to take the first 4 cards off the top of the deck. We'll deal those out and then decide how we're going to play them. We got another travel, Finally got a combat, another combat, and a hiding. All right. Frodo doesn't have any travel, so we'll take that down to him. Both of them have an equal number of hiding, so we'll just give that one to Sam. And then I'll give both of them a combat. We'll do that as well. So both of them will have one combat now also. All right, and I've noticed in some of my other videos, I know I have a hard time. It's hard to keep the camera pointing to exactly what's going on. So you see how our card layout is now. Not too bad. We're still light on combat, but we got a pretty good amount of everything else. All right, that was the second part of Bag In. The third part is a Nazgul appears. As you remember, as they were traveling across the Shire, the Black Rider appeared and they had to hide. So one player has to discard 2 hides or else Sauron moves 1 closer. And we can do that. We can do that. Sam has got the most hides. He's got 3 of them. So he is going to get rid of 2 of the hiding. We'll put it over here in the discard, and Sauron doesn't move any closer. So that is the end of Bag End. Now, the other thing to tell you, as the game has gone through various re-editions and reissuings over the years, I think Fantasy Flight Games has the game now. You can still get Lord of the Rings here. I know it came out 21 years ago. You can still get the base game. In fact, Fantasy Flight Games has just came out with like the 20th anniversary edition last year. The thing is, the 20th anniversary edition, from all viewpoints that I've seen online, the reviews, pretty much it sucks. The quality of the components isn't as good, and it's just was a cheap production. There's nothing new added to it either. So they're actually saying that if you want to play it, said go find a secondhand copy. Go on to eBay or whatever and find you a new or like new or very good copy of it. Because they said this thing, of course, it came out during the whole Lord of the Rings craze. When the movies were out, and it sold about a bazillion copies of the base game. The expansions really didn't sell, but the base game's so good. So it shouldn't be too hard to find it, not too expensively. Or any of the other editions that came out. Because I think it's been released 3 different, I think the 20th anniversary that came out is maybe the third or fourth reprinting of it. One of the only differences is, this is the old original game. In the reprintings, the gray cards and the white cards are basically evenly matched. You know, there's 60 of the Hobbit cards in that stack, and I think there's 30 of each. It's different. In the base game here, the original 2000 version, there are more white cards than gray cards. So it makes it harder, because once again, if you want to play 2 of these in a turn, you have to play a white and a gray. So having them fewer grays makes it harder to get around to playing 2 cards at a time. All right, so that takes care of Bag In. From there, we travel to Rivendell. I said we would go to Bree if we were playing the expansion, but we're not going to go to Bree. We're going to go to Rivendell. And at Rivendell, Elrond, receive the feature cards. I will grab those over here. The feature cards are these yellow ones. We don't have to shuffle them. Well, actually, we are going to have to shuffle them. And I'll do that now because we're going to deal them out. These are various things that you pick up in Rivendell. The various, whoops, excuse my fingers. The various items and people that we can join up with the Fellowship. So I will take those now and shuffle them out and then deal them out to the 2 hobbits. Okay, the cards have been dealt out, and this is another change. I think this has changed in the later editions, but here in the original edition, there are 12 of these cards. You see 4 of them are still sitting over here. There are 12 of these cards that you can get here at Rivendell, and in a in every version except for the 2-player game, or in this case, the 2-handed game, you deal out all the cards. It's like there's 3 players, each player gets 4. If there's 4 players, each player gets 3, etc. In the 2-player game here, the 2-handed game, you only deal 4 out to each player, and the other 4 get discarded. So, yeah, it makes it, once again, a little bit tougher. Here in Rivendell, we've ended up with Gimli, and Gimli counts as 2 combat. We've got Sting, which is a wild card. We've got Anduril, which counts as 2 combat. And we got the Miravor. In the Miravor, one player may pass 1 card to another player. Miravor, any of these yellow cards you see like this, these are cards that they're called interrupt cards. You can play them. Any of these can be played, 1 time. They play just like any other card. Gimli counts just like combat cards. If you need to play a combat card, you can play them along. All the other combat cards have 1. These special cards have 2 or 3. The Miravor, the yellow ones, you can play those at any time. So they can actually interrupt the flow of the game. But once you play them, you discard them. So as you say, he'll be able to pass 1 card on to another player. And then Sam over here, he got Legolas, which has 2 hiding. Gandalf, which has 2 traveling. We ended up with Glamdring, which counts as 2 wild cards. And Athelas, 1 player can ignore the effects of missing life tokens once only. So what that means is, as you travel through the scenarios, you're picking up rings, hearts, and suns. And when you get to the end of the scenario, everybody needs to have 1 of both. You need to have a ring, a heart, and a sun. If you don't, you move up the corruption track for each one that you don't have. If you have a ring and a heart, but no sun, you move 1 step up the corruption track. That right there, you can play it once, and 1 player gets to ignore not having the life tokens. So that works out well. All right, that was Elrond. That was the Council of Elrond. Nope, the Council of Elrond is now. Each player takes 1 card and passes it face down to the left. Now, what we see here coming up is each player has to discard a fellowship or else they roll the die. Frodo has 3 fellowship. Sam does not have any fellowship. So Frodo is going to pass a fellowship to Sam. And once again, it's only because of, alpha gaming that we have to worry about, keeping the hands hidden. So if you're normal people, don't worry about that. Now, Frodo only has 1 travel. So Sam is going to take 1 of his 3 travel and give it to Frodo. So there, we've taken care of the Council of Elrond now. So now the Fellowship. Each player has to discard a Fellowship card or else we roll the die. Well, we can do that now. Frodo is going to get rid of 1 of his Fellowships. I hate the fact that it's a gray card, though. I said the gray cards are few and far between. And then Sam will get rid of 1 of his fellowship. Now, Sam could have used the wild card here. He could have used the Frodo card with the wild card on it as a fellowship. But it's better to get rid of it and save those wild cards for when you really need them. So let's throw that one over there. Now, we are done with the fellowship part, the Rivendell part. So we're going to move along to the next step on the track, which is Moria. And when you land on 1 of these, you pull out the scenario board. And as you see, we've already got the Moria scenario board. A Balrog is come. So I am going to set this up, and then we'll talk about the scenario board here. All right, folks, this is the Moria board set up. We have put the Cones of Dunshire out on the board. There's still 1 left over. Only in the base game anyway, only Mordor uses all 5 of the marker cones here. As you see, we start here. The first one starts right up here at Moria. It will move down as events take place. We hope events do not take place, but as they take place, it moves down the tracker to show what event we are on. And it's like Speak Friend and Enter, The Watcher in the Water, Stone in the Well, Trapped, Orcs Attack, and Fly You Fools. The further you go down the event track, the worse things are. Now, there's always a main track. This is the one that goes across the middle of the board. Battle against the wolves, the orcs, and the Balrog. So we're going to be battling to move along the main track. And we have to go all the way to number 20 here. So we have, 10 steps to go along the main track. These numbers, by the way, these are also the points you score at the end of the game. The practice game I did last night, I ended up with a score of 51. which ain't bad. It didn't win because I lost a third of the way up through Mountain Doom. Sauron took the ring. But yeah, scored a 51, so not too bad. Along with that, you have these supplementals. This track has to be done. These are optional, kinda, but remember what we said, you do have to have each character has to have a ring, a heart, and a sun at the end of the scenario, or else you take corruption. You know, you move further along the corruption track up there. So they're optional, but not really, you know. You don't have to finish them, though. As you see, one of them, we're going to be hiding. We're going to be quietly advancing through Moria as best we can, unless some fool of a took throws a stone in a well. And then at the end, we flee to the exit, which is going to be using traveling. All right. So, as we start here, and there are 2 items. A lot of these scenarios have items that you got. We've got a book we can obtain, which counts as a hiding. Y'all remember the book here's the one, Owen's book that they found in the Chamber of Records. And then you can get a pipe, and the pipe counts as 2 fellowship. Okay, so we'll start. Frodo, the ring bearer, always starts off the turn. They're always the first player, but it's not always Frodo. You'll see when we get to the end of the scenario, you count whoever's got the most ring tokens, and they're the ring bearer. And if there's a tie, it goes to the person who doesn't have the ring. So, yeah. All right, Frodo's going to go first. Frodo, I think, is going to use 2 hiding. Well, he can't. He can only use 1, can he? He can only use 1, so he's got the most of the combat cards over here. We could really move up the combat track. He is going to do that. He's going to play 2 cards. So we'll play Gimli and we'll play Anduril. So we discard both of those, and he's going to get to move 4 spaces up the main track because we got 4 of the symbols. So... and this counts as the whole fellowship here. This is the entire party. So he's going to move 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4 to the level 14 here. Now he gets, as we go along, he gets everything that he either passes or lands on. So he's going to get 3 shields, 1, 2, and 3. So we'll go ahead and grab one of those. We'll go grab one of the 3s and we'll throw it over here on Frodo. Okay. And, oh, I'm forgetting, he could use, we'll still do that. I was like, oh, he can only use the hiding, but he can use, remember, he can use any, just as, never mind what I'm saying. I was thinking he could use it as a gray card, but he can't. He can only use it as a wild card. So he got the 3 shields, and he's going to get a ring. So he gets a ring marker also. So he is already 1/3 of his way through the requirements that he has to have to make it through this. So that is his turn. Now it is going to be Sam's turn. And Sam needs to, whoops, before we do any of that, we got to draw an event card. My bad, my bad. Let's bring these 2 back just in case. Let's take that back just in case. We'll put those over there. Before every turn, you draw an event card. So let's see what happens. Oops, and it's event. The sundial here says that we have an event. Okay, so we move to the first one. That sucked. Speak friend and enter. The group has to discard a fellowship and a wild card, or else Sauron moves up one of the track. All right. A fellowship and a wild card. Well, the only person with any fellowship is Frodo. So Frodo will get rid of the fellowship card. All right. Slide the combat back up here. And then we have to get rid of a wild card. Well, Frodo, he's got 2. Tell you what we're going to do. We'll let Sam get rid of the regular wild card here. There we go. So we got rid of the fellowship and the wild card. So we opened the door of Moria and nothing else happens. Now, at this point, he'll play both of these, Anduril and Gimli. He'll move up the 4 to there. We'll get our 3 shields back. we'll get our ring token back. So we got the ring. And what these tokens stand for, and that's the reason why you have to have them in the scenario, you want to show that you still got heart. The heart shows that you're still full of hope. The sun shows that you're still living in the light. You're still full of the light and optimism that, you know, we can do this. And then the ring shows that you're escaping the corruption. You're fighting off the corruption of the ring. That's why you have to have the 3 and why you move up the corruption track. If you're losing hope, don't have a heart, well, you start sliding toward the corrupt side. If you're moving toward the darkness, if you're coming under the influence of the corruption, you move on up the corruption track. Okay, so that is that. And actually, we keep drawing event cards. So I still did it wrong. We drew an event card. You draw another event card. Okay. If that had been another event, if that had been another sundial or something, we would have drawn another one. And you keep going until you get something besides event cards. In this case, we have combat. So that means he actually gets to move 1 further up. And he gets to take another shield. So he has got 4 shields now. We are going to almost buy a Gandalf card with that. Okay, now it's Sam's turn. And Sam's got to do the same thing now. Beginning of your turn, draw an event card. And he got hiding. So Sam is going to move us 1 along the hiding track. And he got book. So Sam gets to take the book over here. And the book counts as 1 hiding. So Sam has got a buttload of hiding now. Doesn't have too much combat, but he has a bunch of hiding. So I think what he's going to do to start with is he's going to use Legolas. So let's take Legolas, and I'll go discard him. That leaves us with 2 hiding here. And that moves Sam 2 down the track. So Sam is going to get a ring and a heart. So Sam has now got 2 of the 3 that he needs to make it out of Moria safely without taking any corruption at the end. Okay? And that was his turn, right? He moved. He got the book. Yep. His event moved him 1, and then he moved with Legolas. 1 more, 2 more. Yep. So that is Sam's turn done. Okay. Now it goes back to Frodo, and Frodo has to pick an event, and he gets travel. So that is good. So he is going to travel on the flea track, and he gets another shield. So we got 5 shields now. If we needed to use Gandalf or something, we could use Gandalf. And he's got to decide what he's going to do. All right, he's got a ring. We need heart and we need sun. So he needs to travel. And I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to travel. He's going to use both of these. Said you got to use a white and a gray. He'll use both of those, and he's going to travel 2 spaces on the fleeing track. That's going to give him another shield, and it's going to give him a sun. So now all he needs is a heart. All Sam needs is a sun, and then we can devote the rest of our attention to getting the hell out of Moria here. Okay, now it is Sam's turn. Sam has to draw an event again. And we actually have an event. Okay, so it moves down. Watcher in the water. Each player has to discard a hide or else you roll the die. All right, we can do this. Frodo will discard 1. Sam will discard the book that he just got. So he will discard 1. And there we go. We made it past the Watcher of the Water without any corruption happening. Very good. Okay, Sam. In fact, I'm going to use this other marker just to remind me who it is that we're actually on the turn of right now. Okay, so now we did that, so he has to draw another one. Let's remember. He got moving again. So Sam gets to move 1 more. He gets a shield now. Actually, I need to get... Yeah, so Sam gets a shield now. He actually hasn't done anything else, did he? He got the ring. Yeah, he hasn't done anything else that actually gives you shields yet. All right, now he needs a sun. So I am going to burn one more of all my walking here. I'll keep Gandalf for now, but I'll burn one more of the walking, the traveling, move him one further up, and now Sam will get a sun. So Sam has all three of the markers now that he needs to get out of this. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's his entire turn. The only other thing he'd have to spend is one of the others. Yeah, we'll do that since it was a white card. Now, back to the events. We get, for Frodo, gets a traveling. Okay, let me move the marker over here for Frodo. So Frodo gets to move along the travel line now. Boom. And he gets another shield. I'm going to trade the shield that he's getting and these two in and get a 3. So he's got 7 now. Now he has to decide what he's going to do. Now, one of the things you can do is just skip your turn and draw 2 cards. That's always available as well. We need 2 hiding is what he needs. So we're going to spend 1 hiding. Move him 1 further along. He gets another ring. And that is all he can do this turn. All right. Sam is now first player again. Or it's his turn, rather. Oh, another event. Damn it. Stone in the Well. You fool of a took. Reveal 1 Hobbit card from the deck and active player discard 2 matching card symbols to receive the pipe. Otherwise, you get Sauron Goes On and then the next event. All right. What do we do? Reveal 1 Hobbit card from the deck. We need a combat. Okay. So the active player, which is Sam, has to discard 2 matching combat cards. We've only got 1. However, he does have Glamdring, which is a wild card. We're going to use Glamdring. I hate to do it, but we're going to use Glamdring. We're going to use the wild cards as 2 combat cards. We'll discard that. So he did that. He gets the pipe card. Sauron still doesn't move, but Sam gets the pipe card, which is 2 fellowship. Okay. Now we got to keep going because of that. All right. And he gets another fellowship. Okay. There is no fellowship track. When there is no fellowship track, you get to use that as a wild card, as any of them. Well, Sam's got all the suns. He's got all the suns and hearts and everything else that he needs. So we are going to move on along this track. And he gets another ring now. So right now they are tied on rings. They both have 2. So if everything stays like this, Sam will become the ring bearer next turn since it's a tie. Okay. So we got that. That was that. Now he has to play a card. Once again, we have all we need. I'm going to go ahead and use the combat. Okay. We're going to use the combat card here. We're going to move 1 further along. Remember, if you have to roll a die, Sam is the one to do it because Sam only takes 1 damage. So it's a 2, so Sam moves 1 damage up the corruption track. So we move Sam 1 up the corruption because he only takes 1 damage. Same thing if it had been 2 cards, he'd only have to lose 1 card. Okay, so that was a good event to get past that one. Let's move the marker back to Frodo. Frodo has to go now. Oh. All right, this one is we have to discard 3 cards or the next event happens. I believe that's what it is. I'm going to take a quick look to make sure that I can take a quick look to see if it's one person or the party that has to discard. I think it's the party has to discard, but we'll take a quick look here. And looking it up, I was correct. Yes, the party as a group has to discard 3 cards. Oy, alrighty. So what are we gonna do? Oh, I do not want to get rid of that pipe because that pipe is worth 2. All right, I'm going to get rid of a walking since he's done all the walking he needs to do. I'll get rid of that. So that's one card. I tell you what, he's going to get rid of a hiding. That'll be 2 because I don't want to lose the wild cards and we need combat to keep moving. So he'll do that. And yeah, let's lose the, I don't want to lose the 2 travel. Let's lose the combat. All right, that was our 3 cards. So that event, we do not go to the next event, but we do have to draw another card because it was an event card. All right, it's a tree. So Frodo gets moved along to a heart. That's what he needed. We've got a heart card for him now. He now has all 3 that he needs. So what is he going to do? He could play wild cards. He could play both of those wild cards and move 2 more up the track. But I think instead he is going to draw 2 cards because we are awful low on cards on both sides. So we got another wild card and we got a travel. So that is the end of his turn. Sam becomes the person whose turn it is. What do we get? Oh, Lord. All right, that is Sauron in 2 damage. Let me take a quick look at the guide here, see what that is. And the guide says that 1 player must volunteer to advance their hobbit by 2 steps into the darkness, or else Sauron moves 1 step toward the hobbits. Then reveal the next event tile. All right. Well, I'm going to move Frodo, because otherwise Sam would end up on 3. Let's just move Frodo up to 2. That keeps Sauron from advancing. All right, we got to go to the next event tile. Oh, my God. Okay, that one. That one is another corruption. I think it's the ring bearer has to take a corruption. Yeah. Ring bearer has to take a corruption. So the ring bearer, Frodo, is going to end up in 3 here instead of Sam. All right, next event tile is an event. Oh, geez. All right, we move to the next one. We are now trapped. We've gotten the stone in the well. We're now trapped. Traveling and hiding must be complete. And they are not. This one's not complete. That's not complete. Neither one is complete. So otherwise, Sauron moves twice, and the ring bearer has to roll the die. Told you this was a hard game. Sauron is now on 10. He's moved 2 closer. Let's see what happens to Frodo. Please let it be a blank. And it is a blank. All right, nothing happened to Frodo. We barely got through that one. See what I mean? As you move down the event track, things get crappy. And we've still got to draw another event card. Hiding. All right, Frodo gets another ring. So Frodo will stay the ring bearer. He's got 3 to Sam's 2. But you know what? He's a lot closer to Sauron than Sam is. So we may play. We might. In fact, I think I will. I am going to burn 5 points. Okay. So of our 6 here, we're going to burn 5 of them. And I am going to use a Gandalf card to heal 1 player by 2. It flips over. It's gone for the game. These are all one-time only cards. So that one is done. And we are going to heal Frodo of 2 corruption. Move him back even with Sam. Get him away from Sauron there. Okay. So we finally got that one. All right. So Sam actually has to play now. It's Sam's turn, correct? Sam actually has to play now. We got walking. We've got pipes. And we need some combat. We have no combat. We got nothing that can move us up the combat line. So he has got a wild card and a combat card. So yeah, we can actually start moving again. And we probably need to start using some of these wild cards to move up too. All right, Frodo's turn. Combat. Yep, there we go. He moves up 1. And he gets another shield. So he's got 2 shields now. All right, and he's got to play cards. Actually, I'm going to draw 2 more. Because Sam, he got a combat, and he got another wild card. We got a ton of wild cards. Sam can actually, use his card. He can use the combat and the star to finish up the game, finish up this scenario here. So that's what I'm going to do. So he drew 2. Let's see what Sam draws. We got our draw the event card, and it's an event. Oh my God. Orcs attack. Group has to discard 5 combat cards or Sauron moves twice. Yeah, we should have finished up this round, shouldn't we? We only have, well, let's see, we've got 1 combat here, so that's the first one. And then he will play this wild card as another combat. So that's 2, that's 3, that's 4. And then this one would make 5. We're going to keep Sting, since Sting is a gray card, and gray cards are more valuable than the white cards. That's our 5. So the Orcs attack, we managed to keep from getting hurt and keep from Sauron from moving. Now, Frodo, God, see this right here? I am going to use Sting, and I can't use the combat. I can't use that because they're both gray now. Jeez. Alrighty. See, if I'd kept, that's what we'll do. Am I going to mulligan this one? Yeah, I'm not. I'm not going to mulligan it because that would be cheaty. I'm going to burn the combat card, throw it over there, and he's going to move up by 1. He's going to roll the event die. Let's see what happens to the ring bearer. Ring bearer takes 2 corruption. I am glad we healed him. We don't have enough to buy another Gandalf card right now, do we? No, we do not. Okay, and none of the other cards help us. So there, that is the end of his. Let's see what happens now. All right, combat. So Sam gets to move us up there. We have completed Moria now. Yes. Now the big shield, when you get to any of the big shields along the track, that means you pull one of these out. And this was seeded at the beginning of the game with 2 1s, 2 2s, and 2 3s. So, let's see what he gets. He got a 2. Okay, that is the end of Moria. My God, we made it to the end. So one thing we have to do, we have to take a look. Do each player have a sun, a moon, and a ring? They do. Each player gets a sun, a moon, and a ring, so nobody takes any corruption from that. And who has the most rings? Well, Frodo has the most rings, so Frodo remains the ring bearer. Okay, now we made it through Moria, so now we move to Lothlorien. Lothlorien says, Galadriel, first we receive the feature cards. So I am going to get the feature cards out here, take a quick look at what we have to do, how many each person gets. I'm going to shuffle them up, and then we'll see how much each person gets, whether it's the same as like Rivendell, where we only deal out 4 in the 2-player game. We'll see. I'm going to do that, deal them out, and I'll be back with y'all in just a moment, and we'll finish up Lothlorien here.